Ron Utter and I, we talked about, this was before our missions. Was this before our missions? This is after our missions. So we make our bows. We've got these hunting bows, our arrows, and we're up above Logan, and we're working through the forest there, and we come out. Now Ron had never been hunting. I'd been hunting, but Ron had never been hunting, and we come out on this clearing, and there's this elk in the middle of the clearing, big elk, big rack. And I look over there, and there's Ron at a full pull with his bow. And I says, "Don't shoot! That's an elk." It was the biggest buck he'd ever seen in his life. He didn't, and the elk was safe. But that was the same area where I got lost up there, up bow hunting. Went up over a mountain. I expected to see a road on the other side. Dropped down the other side and mountain, and the road wasn't there. And I got looking around, and I had no idea where I was. I don't know if you've ever been lost in the mountains. It is the most devastating, empty feeling that you can ever have. The first thing that you do is you don't start running, and that's what people, you panic. You say, "Oh no," and you start running. You don't run. I sat down by a tree. So I already knew this, set everything aside, and I just sat there for about a half an hour. And then all of a sudden, the panic left, and things started fitting back together, and I realized where I was, and I backtracked back into camp. And I walk into camp, and they, "Oh, where you been?" I says, "Oh, I've been lost." "Oh, okay." I mean, so you've been lost. So this is after married, and I have 7 kids, and I've got my youngest son who is a scout now, and we're up into the Uintas, and we're doing this compass course, and so we're laying out compass, and we did a couple of compass courses, and we laid out this really interesting course for somebody, and then somebody laid out a course for us, and so I had a group of scouts with me, and we laid out a very difficult course for the other scouts. They laid out this very, very simple course. I mean, point A, point B, and you're done, and you're kind of done. We didn't expect this, so we overshot the mark with this group so we're following the compass and down a cliff and out into the forest area and back around, and we by the time we didn't know where we were, we realized that we had really overshot this compass course by a big margin. And we look around, and we're in trees, and you can't see anything, and you don't know where you are. And so now here I am. I'm a scoutmaster. Well, I'm not a scoutmaster. I'm a conscripted father with this group of scouts. And there's probably 6 or 8 of us. And they says, "Brother Crowther, what do we do?" I says, "The first thing we do is we stop where we are." And that's what we did. And I says, "Now we're going to have a circle prayer." And each one, we went through each scout, and they each said a prayer. And then it got to my turn, and I said a prayer. And then when we finished the prayer, we looked up on the mountain, and there was kind of a ledge area up there. And I says, "Let's go up to that ledge where we can see something." Now, it's kind of the impression. That was the impression that we ought to do. So we went up, and we could see the peaks, and we had a map, and we had the compass, and we oriented on those peaks. And so now we knew how the map set with the lay of the land. And then we looked down, and we saw the trail that went back to where our camp was. And we said, okay, the trail is right there. So all we have to do is set an azimuth on the compass down to where the trail is. And so we did that. We went down, we intersected the trail. Now this is an all day. This was not a quick thing. This was all day. And we went, they said, we're thirsty. There was snow, so we snowbanks, and so we gathered snow, and that's how we got something to drink. We got back, and we came into camp, and they were organizing a search party for us. Everything was organized and ready to go, and we showed up in camp. My church calling was working with the teachers' quorum. And what do you guys want to do for a super activity? And we got talking. They wanted to do a canoe trip. So we got canoes, and we got out on the lakes, and we were practicing how to mount into the canoes and do all the canoe stuff, and how to guide them and handle them, and how to insulate your packs so that they don't get wet and all of that. And so we got permits to go up to Yellowstone, went up to the Lewis Lake, and across the Lewis Lake and up the Lewis River. We pulled the canoes up the Lewis River up to Shoshone Lake. And then we spent a week catching fish and bathing in the hot pots there that were right on the edge of the Shoshone Lake. I mean, it was a scout's dream. We had so much fun. And what we didn't know is that, when you train in smooth and calm waters and everything's manageable, that's how you learn. But when things go south, you don't have those skills. And that's what happened. The last day of the trip, the winds came up, and the water was rough. And as we were getting around on Shoshone Lake and to go back down to Lewis River, two of the canoes swamped over. And we able to get that, and I got one canoe was lost out into the lake, and so I'm paddling out over there to get them and showing them how to manage into the rough weather, and so they're trying to manage that, and finally get them acclimated to handling rough water. And it was no thought to me. I've been canoeing and kayaking and doing that kind of stuff all my life, and so it was amazing to me that they didn't know how to do it, but I'd never showed them. So anyway, we got down, and we went down the Lewis River over into the Lewis Lake, and then the rough water on the Lewis Lake. We're paddling across that into the rough water, and we finally got. And the funny thing, we had 6 canoes. I had a green Beauville Chev van, and I built a framework on top of the van, so you have two canoes up on top of this van. It looked like something out of the Wrath of Grapes, the Grapes of Wrath story. But anyway, we got back over to where the van was and got the canoes back up and got home safely. We didn't lose anybody, and we got home. But quite a fun story.